Thank you for tuning in to the College Football Report with Eric and Ryan Robinson on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Today we're making all of our season predictions, conference champions, playoff teams, sleepers, disappointments, over-unders. This is the show. Please tune in every Thursday for the College Football Report and when the situation calls for it, the biggest college football storyline. Take it away, Susie.
You are listening to the College Football Report with Eric and Ryan Robinson. And here's your host, Greg Mingelt.
Welcome, college football fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you, producer Susie, for introducing Eric and Ryan, our college football guys. And here for the College Football Report, guys, I'm really excited. Season 2 is officially underway. And tonight, the predictions count for real. We've already gone a couple of times. We've talked about the Big Ten. We've talked about the SEC. We've made some predictions. They were unofficial. Now we're going to pick all the major conferences. We're going to pick all the things, and I'm going to be writing it down and referring back to this throughout the year to congratulate you, as I would have done last year with Eric for sure, or make fun of you, which I'm really hoping is the case.
Which would have happened with me last year for sure with my Garrett Nussmeier Heisman and Jackson Dart and Ole Miss winning the national title.
Because they're Ole Miss, as I kept saying all year. They might be the best team in the country, but they're Ole Miss. They're the IU of the SEC.
Well, I'll see if I can be equally as bad this year, but I almost am guaranteed improvement.
And here we go. We're going to start with the conference that we love the most, and that's the Big Ten. Eric, who you got to win the Big Ten?
I'm sticking to my guns on this one. Slam dunk, Penn State. Too much returning, too much experience, too much good quarterback play. Their defense is loaded. I'm taking Penn State. I've said it for, a month? I'm not going to back down now.
In the Big Ten, I think Penn State's obviously you can make a case for them, but to me it all goes back to Columbus, Ohio, and the Buckeyes. I got them winning the Big Ten. Penn State would be second, and don't count out Illinois in the third position.
I had them third or fifth, I think.
So you're saying Illinois is a playoff team? Because that's my next question, guys, and I'll ask Ryan first. Who are the other Big Ten playoff teams?
Well, playoff team, you're going to have two. You're going to have Penn State. You're going to have Ohio State. And then you can make arguments for Oregon. You can make argument for Michigan, argument for Illinois.
We're not here making arguments, Ryan. We're here making predictions. Who will make the playoffs, Ryan, besides Ohio State and Penn State?
It's going to be Oregon. You're going to get 3 Big Ten teams.
Agree or disagree, Eric?
I do agree. I had Illinois in that third spot, but when you look at the schedules, Illinois' schedule is very favorable, and Oregon only has one road game at Penn State. Then they have a home game against Indiana, probably the only 2 ranked teams they're going to play all year. So
Could the Big Ten get 4?
If the Big Ten got 4, I'd put Illinois in there right behind Oregon. But I'm going to go Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon. And I know that sounds so easy to pick, but
there are a lot of teams. In fact, I'm not picking for the record, but I'm taking Michigan to win the Big Ten.
Well, Eric's comment is why I have Oregon nudged over a playoff team over Illinois just because of the schedule. I think Oregon can, have a 1 or 2 loss record and still be that third Big Ten team in the playoff field.
Plus, Oregon is Oregon and Illinois is Illinois.
Exactly.
And same with your Ole Miss predictions from last year. It's just the fact it happened last year, Eric, with IU. Who's this year's surprise team, the IU of 26 in the Big Ten?
In the Big Ten? Illinois gave us a little glimpse of it last year. I would have to say them.
I'm not accepting Illinois. Everyone's picking them a top 15 team.
Man, it just drops off so far. Nebraska, perhaps.
I will accept Nebraska, Ryan.
That would be my next team.
Who's your IU this year? Is there one?
Could it be IU again?
If they went undefeated through the Big Ten, it could maybe. But that's the only way.
If they were to do that 2 years in a row, I think that would have some value to it. But I hate to agree with Eric, but when you asked the question, the only team that came to mind was Nebraska.
All right, Ryan, who's going to be the most disappointing team this year?
It's kind of foreseeable, but I mentioned it the last time you podcasted on Big Ten football with Eric, how far Michigan State's fallen. That's a program that thought they had their hire 2 years ago, and it's just been a complete disaster. And they don't have.
What's disappointing then? What record would you say?
You're probably looking at maybe 3-9.
Oh, wow, that would be bad. That's probably new coach time. Eric, you have a disappointing team?
I'm going to go with USC again. Not a believer. I did mention earlier on the previous podcast that I was going for USC only based on the odds that they would not be bad 4 years in a row. I think they're a 7-5 team, 8-4 at best. That's not good enough at USC.
That is not good enough. And, if he does have a bad fourth season in a row, does he see a fifth out there?
Probably
I'm referring to Lincoln Riley.
Well, that buyout is $80 million, so I think he's back.
By the way, mine's Penn State. I don't think people realize quite how good the guys they lost are. And I think that they are going to finish outside of the top four in the Big Ten and outside of the playoffs. That's my prediction.
That's a bold prediction. We'll see how it.
And that's what we're here to do, guys. Ryan, you're our SEC guy. Who is going to be the SEC champion?
SEC champion this year, it's going through Austin, Texas, and it's going to be Texas Longhorns. You can make a case for three other teams, possibly a fourth if you want to bring Georgia to the table. But I think Texas, they return so much defensively. They're good at quarterback, potentially great at quarterback. But, week one's could be a loss, but it's not a conference loss. So as long as they make it to the conference title game, you're still going to be in the playoff talks. But overall, I think they're going to be the lock to win the SEC.
You agree, Eric?
I do not. I'm going to take LSU. Year three for Brian Kelly. I think LSU turns the corner. I love the quarterback play they have. I think he's a difference maker. I have Texas right behind them. There's so many teams that could compete. South Carolina. I like Florida because I like Lagway, but if you look at that Florida schedule, it's brutal, and there's no way they survive that schedule.
Well, answer the question now then. Who are the other teams who make the playoffs besides LSU?
I've got Texas, and I'm going to take Georgia. They've got Alabama and Texas at home. Their only real road game Georgia has at Tennessee. They play Florida in the neutral field. Their schedule lines up for them. So I got Texas, LSU, Georgia.
No Florida, no Alabama. Ryan, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. I have LSU finishing a close second place, and I could make an argument that they could win the SEC just based on Garrett Nussmeier's play.
Could be the top two teams.
The fact that Coach Kelly put defense last season and even more so in this offseason as, the focus, because offensively that didn't cost them games last year. It was giving up leads in the second half that cost them games. So LSU second place. My third team is going to be South Carolina. I love their quarterback play. I love their receiving core. Their schedule is a little shady, but the whole SEC schedule is going to be that way this year. It's just a loaded conference, and I think Florida's going to be your fourth place team just because of.
Are they getting in the playoffs?
No, but I tell you what, if DJ Lagway saved Billy Napier's job last year, and he went with the transfer out of Wisconsin as a starting quarterback week one. By week three, he was already banged up with concussion. So he starts Lagway against Wofford, I believe it was. He goes 6-1. They ended up making a huge run there at the end of the season just based on this kid's plays. And Billy Napier just has a strong hold on this program still. I know he's probably got 50% of the fan base. But I think after this year, if he can survive that schedule, like Eric mentioned, I think Florida can get a top four finish in the SEC. But I don't think that's going to be good enough to be in the football playoff.
All right, Ryan, who is your surprise in the SEC? Somebody got to say Auburn.
Auburn. I'm not a huge fan of Hugh Freeze, but I look for Auburn, what they did in the offseason too, to have a better season than they did last year. Here's the thing with that team.
Eagle, fly down the field.
What some people don't realize with that team is they have a lot of underclassmen who are going to be a year older this year. So both sides of the ball, they're going to have good quarterback play again. So I think Auburn could be your surprise team. When I look at it on paper, I have them finishing somewhere between 8 and 10. But could they finish 5th or 6th? Maybe. Could they get 3rd or 4th? That's a stretch. But yeah, I think Auburn could be that team that could surprise some people this year.
Eric, your surprise?
I'll pick Vanderbilt just because what they're building on from last year. Big win over Alabama. They go bowling. Who would have thought Vanderbilt football would be in a bowl game? So,
You have a disappointing team, a team you expect to fail?
as much as I root for him, I have concerns with Alabama. I mean, I have them missing the playoff again. This will be 2 years in a row. That's not good for the fan base. Man, I really like that coach, but it's so hard to replace. How do you replace Nick Saban? And he's almost got an impossible job. But I'm rooting for him.
Bob Knight or
It's hard, man. You see programs really fall back.
Vanderbilt, just to comment on that real quick, it's a great story and it's a great team to get behind, but I don't think you're really going to discuss them as a playoff team or SEC contender for a long time. I don't know if what they did last year is the ceiling, but I really, really do like the head coach and the quarterback, Diego Pavia. He's a spark plug. He wills you to wins, but they still got a tough schedule. I think they go to Virginia Tech, the second game of the year, and then they're right out of the gate at South Carolina in game 3. So you're looking at possible 1-2 start before just right as the SEC season gets underway. So that wouldn't be a good start to a follow-up season to last year.
All right, Eric, we're going to move on to the ACC, and we've talked almost nothing about any ACC teams in this preseason, as we've done a few podcasts. By the way, go back and listen to those. Those were amazing. Maybe the best podcasts ever made in the history of humanity. I'm not saying that for sure. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
They were good.
They were so good. Let's go to the ACC. And Eric, who's your champion?
Well, I'm going to put a lock on this one as well. No one's going to compete with Clemson in that conference. They run away with the ACC this year. They are just loaded. They've got 5 projected first-round draft picks on defense, and the quarterback, Klubnik, who we're going to talk about later. Man, they just loaded on defense. T.J. Parker, Peter Woods, Antonio Williams, a wide receiver. Too much talent, too much NFL talent for any other team in that league. Miami can compete, but their schedule, I think, is going to doom them. So I think Clemson wins the ACC.
You agree, Ryan?
I do agree with that. They got 13 guys on defense coming back that at least saw 200 snaps or more. The offensive line's got 4 starting seniors returning, and I haven't even mentioned the quarterback, who's going to be lights out all season long and be the difference maker, and probably yet another weak ACC. So yeah, I think Clemson runs through that schedule pretty good, and they're going to be your ACC champs.
Eric, who else will be a playoff team from the ACC?
Well, I'm going to go with, and this is going to be a little bit of a surprise to you guys, but I'm not taking Miami. I'm not taking SMU. I thought about Louisville for a minute, but my other playoff team in the ACC, and they will get 2. So you're going to have Clemson, you're going to have Georgia Tech.
Wow. So
They're my surprise team. Well, they played well last year.
Oh, if they're in the playoff, though, they're a surprise. It's a surprise.
Definitely. Definitely. But
I'm not saying it's going to be a surprise that would be good.
But if you watch the way their quarterback, Haynes King, played to finish out the year last year, he's going to be a 6-year player. You know how I am about quarterback experience and years. I weigh that very highly because I could take you a long way. He's thrown for over 6,000 yards The kid in the last 2 years is 73% completion. I mean, he's just efficient. 73 touchdowns and over 1,300 yards rushing the last 2 years as well. Kid can play. They took Georgia to 8 overtimes last year. I don't know if you guys recall watching that game. And then they win their bowl game.
Yeah.
I think Georgia Tech is just sitting there ready to make a huge leap forward. Playoff team.
I like it, Eric. I'm going to take Louisville because I'm biased. Ryan?
You've never been biased in your life, Greg. Why are you starting now?
Never.
My surprise team in the ACC is Florida State.
And are they making the playoffs, or is there another?
They'll be the second team from the ACC to make the college football playoff.
You guys have gotten bold here in the ACC. You guys picked the first 6 teams all the same in the playoffs, and now we're starting to get a little creative, and I love it. Who's going to be disappointing in the ACC, Ryan?
Disappointment for me in the ACC is probably going to be Louisville. They just had too much turnover. They do 28, 30, 32 kids each year in and out of the transfer portal. They didn't really address their need, which is defense. So I think they're going to be in some high-scoring affairs like they were last year and end up on the losing side of it. It's a cute pick for them to make a run in the ACC, but I think they're going to be your disappointment team.
Eric, who's your disappointing team in the ACC?
Sound like a broken record, but I had Louisville as well. I think their schedule, and again, the defense, like Ryan touched on.
Jeff Brom's going to prove
I
you all wrong.
I do like their head coach, but that schedule is tough. So yeah, I'd have to say Louisville. But a team you're not hearing a lot about, and they were a playoff team last year, is SMU. So many questions about this team. That quarterback, we just mentioned Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson. That Kevin Jennings plays very similar. They just.
By the way, one question they will always answer is, will they look awesome on Saturdays? And their uniforms are always awesome. Just so ever going back to Eric Dickerson and Craig James.
So I think I'd put SMU, like, are they going to be a surprise team? Well, they were a playoff team last year, so wouldn't be a surprise if they're back in the talk this year. Are they going to be disappointing? I don't know. They're just kind of one of those teams. I can't get a feel for what's going on there.
I think they're going to make the playoffs. That's my guess. I think they're well coached, and I think they're going to be a playoff team. Ryan, let's move to the Big 12, and you have been taking a look at that in the preseason. And who do you believe is going to be the champion in the Big 12?
Well, I've kind of waffled a little bit. I was on the Arizona State wagon for a while, but the more research I do, I'm favoring Kansas State to win the Big 12. I just love Avery Johnson coming back at quarterback and what he did last year. And their ESPN does some funky rating where average return of production, and they have the 15th best rated return of production on their staff. So I think
By the way, they play Saturday.
Yes. Yeah, Kansas State and Iowa State this Saturday is going to be a great way to start the college season.
In Dublin. We're going to talk about some games coming up. But first, Eric, your champion?
I'm going to go with Arizona State simply for the Sam Leavitt effect. I love that kid at quarterback. Playoff team last year. I've got Arizona State slightly ahead of K-State, though. K-State's going to be solid.
Think they're going to make the playoffs?
I do.
Ryan, anybody else from the Big 12 making the playoffs?
I think Arizona State can still make the playoff, finishing second in the Big 12, like Eric mentioned, with Sam Leavitt at quarterback. He's got all the experience you need at quarterback, but the player I really like for that team is Jordan Tyson at wide receiver. And if you guys didn't know this, he was the leading receiver for Colorado before Sanders showed up and Hunter showed up. He transferred to Arizona State, missed all of 23 due to injury, and then last year led the team in receiving. He was a Big 12 newcomer of the year, and he had 75 receptions, over 1,100 yards, and 10 touchdowns. And I think he had 4 games with 2 touchdowns. So he's a difference maker. And when you got a quarterback that can get the ball to him, those two are going to have a really, really exciting season. So I still think Arizona State can find their way into that playoff.
Anybody else have a chance of making the playoffs, or anybody have a surprise team?
Well, so I think a surprise team for me would be Texas Tech, just based on what they're spending in the NIL. They're making things happen. So Texas Tech is a team to watch. That would be my surprise team.
Texas Tech, that's an interesting program right now because for at least 10 years it's been air out football, just try to outscore your opponent. But they've spent so much money on NIL this year that their defense is actually stacked. So if you got a defense along with what their offense typically is each year, that could be a scary team and could make a case for a playoff team or even Big 12 champion. But I think the front runners are Kansas State, Arizona State.
Disappointing team? Oh, by the way, the answer to that question is Colorado is going to be the most surprising team. Most disappointing team, guys, in the Big 12 you think is going to fall?
Well, it's going to be BYU.
Why do we think so much alike, right? I looked at Greg. I was like, BYU.
Yeah.
Their stud quarterback had to transfer, and he pretty much did everything for that offense last year. I'm not sure where he ended up, but, I mean, the circumstances for him having to transfer were, I mean, it's against school policy, but that's a tough break for that kid. I don't know if you guys know the details, nor should we get into them on our podcast.
No, we're definitely not going to get into those details here.
But, you know, that's a tough break for that program. So I think that's going to be an upsetting season for them. You can't lose a kid like that in mid-August or mid-July and hope to be ready by the end of August when the season starts.
All right. Both of you have Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, LSU, Texas, Georgia, Clemson, Arizona State, and Kansas State in the playoffs. Eric has Clemson and Georgia Tech. Ryan has Clemson and Florida State out of the ACC. So, Eric, who are the other two teams that are going to make the playoffs? I assume Notre Dame's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Notre Dame's going to be a playoff team. And then I've got conference champion Boise State, once again, coming out of the West. Although UNLV could make that interesting, as they did last year. But I think Boise State's going to have a better schedule, if they go to Notre Dame. If you could get a win on Notre Dame, it's going to look good on the resume. UNLV is only going to be able to beat Boise State, baby. And
there's a chance that's an elimination game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Which could favor UNLV or someone like that. Ryan, Notre Dame and?
Notre Dame, and I'm going to say UNLV.
Let's turn our attention on this college football prediction podcast with Eric and Ryan Robinson to the Heisman Trophy. And if something happens weird and Wenkers Wright does not win the Heisman, guys, Ryan, who is your number one favorite to be the Heisman, and how close is it?
Actually, I think it's going to be really close, but my favorite to win the Heisman this year is going to be the LSU quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier. He's my front runner. I think he's going to have a huge season. So, yeah, I'd say he's my front runner, but I got three other players that could make it interesting. Lenore Sellers, South Carolina, Arch Manning, Texas, and then Clemson's quarterback, Cade Klubnik.
Eric, do you agree?
Not so much. I have Cade Klubnik as my Heisman winner. I've already bet it actually like 6 weeks ago. So
you're pretty confident in that one.
Yeah, I think Clemson's gonna just have a tremendous year. He's gonna put up huge numbers. But I do have Nussmeier second. That would be my second pick. Some of the guys we've mentioned tonight, but we haven't talked about prior on any of our episodes. You got Arch Manning, of course. We talked about him. Like I said before, if he goes into Columbus and puts up 300, and
he's suddenly the favorite.
He can really put some distance. But so can Klubnik and Nussmeier head to head in week one as well. One of those two are going to separate. Some of the quarterbacks we haven't mentioned before tonight that could have big years. I got Sam Levitt, DJ Lagway, and Lenore Sellers that could really be surprises at quarterback.
Give me a top four.
Klubnik, Nussmeier, Manning, Lagway.
I have the same, but I got Sellers in there over Lagway. Both of us mentioned quarterbacks for Heisman,
That's
and
right.
typically that's who gets the Heisman.
Who's it
What
going to
about
be?
what about a non-quarterback front runner?
It'd have to be Jeremiah Smith and Jeremiah Love. Those are the two names right
The
there.
Jeremiah. Anybody
Any
on
chance?
defense?
Anyone on defense? Leonard Moore, Downs.
Caleb Downs would be probably my number one pick for a defensive player. You got the two kids at Clemson on that line that are going to be a problem for everyone. Yeah, but it'd have to be Jeremiah Smith would have to be number one. And by the way, Ohio State named their starting quarterback. Did you guys see that?
Did not.
I'm just saying, got it. So the transfer from Alabama.
Yeah,
So he
Carson told me that this weekend.
maybe throw his name in there as a surprise Heisman.
Starting next week with the college football report, we're going to be making picks every week when we do our previews. I'm going to pit Eric and Ryan against the local media to see how they do picking games. And we have some really good ones coming up. First of all, we mentioned Kansas State and Iowa State coming up this Saturday. And then Thursday, the 28th, Nebraska and Cincinnati. Friday, the 29th, Georgia Tech and Colorado, co-national champions in 1990, by the way. Auburn and Baylor on the 30th, along with the games that you mentioned that were the top games of the weekend, Texas, Oklahoma, LSU and Clemson. And, of course, Notre Dame, Miami, Alabama, Florida State. That could be – someone said Florida State. That was Ryan, so that could be a really good one as well. So
let's put a side note. Greg mentioned a week ago that IU and Old Dominion would be a sellout. And I said, there's no way.
it'll be a sellout.
No way. Let's find out. I'm saying no way.
What do you think, Ryan?
I hardly think that's going to be a sellout. What's Memorial Stadium hold?
58?
Yeah, 58,000 is not showing up for Old Dominion.
I think IU fans are excited. I disagree. All right, how about 8.5 wins for IU? You got the over or under?
I'm taking the under.
I'm taking the over. They only have to go 5-4 in the Big Ten to be over 8.5.
I think they go 4 and 5. I think it's just a really tough road. Purdue over under 2.5.
Under.
I'm taking the over. I think they're right at 3.
I think they're winning 4 games this year, guys. And Notre Dame, we all agree, gets the double-figure wins, 11-1, 10-2 at worst. And if
I
they
agree.
lost 2, who would it be to?
Oh, Texas A&M.
Miami? Could it be 0-2?
Ooh, I hope not.
And still could have hopes of making the playoffs.
I don't know.
Because you still got Boise State on the schedule.
That road game at Arkansas could be interesting.
Ooh, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough place to play, and that could be a pretty good team.
I think they get by Miami. I'm worried about the A&M game, and I'm also worried about. I mean, this happens every 12 or 15 years at Boston College, just ruin us midseason. You have to admit Notre Dame always has an ugly loss, even with the best teams. So you can't pick Miami and A&M, both of those games. You got to throw someone in there that you look at it on paper and say there's no way they lose that game, and that's what I see when I look at Boston College.
That's what I see when Arkansas. Arkansas is going to be 2-4 going into that game, and that would really concern me if I was a Notre Dame fan. That's the type of team that beat you. I would feel the same way about Kentucky, Missouri, Vanderbilt.
Yep.
No matter who it was in that SEC, it's going to be tough. Guys, I need to get out of here. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. It's going to be fun doing this year.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.